Hey guys, it's Sebastian from AskSebby, and today we are going to do a lightning round of different topics. We're going to talk about credit card retention offers, and then we're also going to talk about travel stuff that you probably want to know about for this week. Hopefully you guys are staying safe and also sane. One big favor that Mr. Walker asked me to ask you guys, yes, Mr. Walker? He asked me to ask you guys to give this a thumbs up because it makes him happy. It works. All jokes aside, stay safe and hopefully you guys are in a good position. Let's dive into the lightning round. The first one of which is going to be discover where you can get a discount for Amazon. I technically posted this on Instagram I think a day or two ago because it's a lot easier to post deals like that over there. So you might want to follow Instagram if you want to get stuff like this before it might disappear. But the idea here is you can use any amount of your Discover cashback to trigger this deal. I first noticed this myself when I was logging into Amazon on the front page. On that main page, there was a $20 off promo, but I've also heard that some people have gotten $10 off. Items need to be sold and shipped by Amazon, but it doesn't need to be made by them, so there's definitely a lot of items that a lot of people are probably buying right now. Optimal strategy is to use exactly 1 cent. Technically, you could use more if you really wanted to, but I feel like you should still have some Discover cashback just to trigger these credits and these deals because we do see them quite a bit. For me personally, I'm going to buy more containers just because after working from home, I realized how messy my room was and it's something that I wanted to fix. I'll leave the links to the containers as well as that Discover deal down below. One big favor for you guys is that if you are shopping on Amazon, if you do use those affiliate links in the YouTube, in the description box, it does really support the channel and it doesn't cost you anything. Next one is going to be Book It, which is going to be suspending their operations. I think TPG posted about this a few days ago, so I am a bit slow here, but if you are someone who has booked with them, I'd strongly recommend doing a chargeback because now is the time to do it before they actually go through that whole bankruptcy period. And if you are someone who ends up booking your trips with these other smaller third-party online travel agencies, it might make sense to be very cautious. Bigger ones are pretty much fine just because they're typically owned by the same companies. So I'll put up a screenshot of who owns who, but you'd be surprised that most of the big online competitors are owned by the same companies. Smaller ones are always at risk and it's just something that you want to be careful with, especially if you did spend a lot of money. We have 2 more lightning round topics before we dive into the big topics. The next one is going to be IHG, which is going to extend their certificates for 6 months, but only if you call and ask them. Pretty straightforward process. I think it definitely makes sense to give them a call, even if you aren't really sure whether you need to do it, just to lock it in. To me, at least, this is a really good move, and I really hope that other hotel groups end up doing the same thing for these certificate nights that have expirations. And then for airlines, I really hope in the back of my head that they end up extending status for another year. I'm also biased there though because I do have Delta status and I haven't really been able to use it, and I'm pretty sure that is the same for everyone else. We'll talk about some other travel stuff towards the end of the video though, so don't stress out too much yet. The final one is going to be US Bank, which has a $300 bank promo if you open a bank account with them by March 31st, 2020. You have to do at least 2 direct deposits that total $2,000 or more within the first 60 days. Reiterating this because sometimes people get very confused, 2 direct deposits that total at least $2,000. Bonus ends up posting 60 days after completing the requirements, and I'll put additional details that you might want to know about in the blog post down below. To me, at least, if you're someone who doesn't want to put money into the market and you want something that's technically risk-free, then this is going to be your best bets. The only risk here is you not fulfilling that requirement, but compared to the stock market or to a lot of other things, that's pretty negligible. If you are someone who wants to put money into the market or maybe get it ready to put into the market, I'd recommend looking into Public. They have a 2.5% interest account for money that you have that's not invested, and talking to their team, it seems like it's sticking at 2.5%. Considering that most other banks right now have substantially lower rates and some of them are in the 0.1% range, 2.5% is pretty solid. I'll put a referral link down below in case you're curious, and hopefully they do stick with their word that it's staying at 2.5. Side note, if you do end up using our link, you're going to get a $10 slice of stock from a larger company just by opening that account and making a deposit. If you're looking for additional free stocks for trying out an app, I'd also look into Webull, and I'll put that down below as well. They end up giving you 2 free stocks. My whole philosophy of stuff like this is to test drive it and see which one you like, because until you do that, you typically can't really get a feel for it. A lot of stuff like this ends up being the user experience and the user interface and seeing whether you actually like it. Moving into the two big topics, we have retention offers as well as travel information that you probably want to know about. With retention offers, I'm getting a lot of data points from Instagram as well as email. A lot of them seem to relate to American Express for whatever reason, and also the Platinum card, and people are getting either 500, 550, or 50,000 points as retention offers for that card. The really cool thing here is that there's not a spend requirement, so normally with retention offers, or typically at least, they tend to ask you to spend $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 some amount, but in this case, they're just giving you the offer. I definitely think that's really good, and I'm a fan of this, and I think if you are someone who has an annual fee coming up, it's worth asking. If you are dealing with the American Express one for the Platinum card, I'd recommend taking the 50,000 points unless you don't have liquidity and you really need that money, just because to me at least, the 50,000 points are going to be worth more in the future. If you have the Platinum card, you're probably someone who travels, and given that you travel, you're going to get more value from those points in the long term. One other big favor is that if you are going for retention offers, instead of leaving data points in my Instagram, I'd recommend going to the data points page on AskSebby. That way it's easier for other people to look through it. So leaving data points down below in the comments is definitely helpful for people who are watching it today or maybe in the next few days, but in the future, it's a lot harder to parse through everything. By leaving your data points in that spreadsheet, you end up helping more people, and I'm pretty sure they would appreciate it as well. I'll link to that down below, and thank you in advance for them as well as for me because it's easier. One quick side note is some people have mentioned that it might be unethical to go for retention offers, and to me, I don't really think so. I think if they offer it to you, then it's your right to take it. If you are calling them 10 times and they say no 10 times, I probably wouldn't keep calling. At that point, that seems a bit too much, but if you're calling 1, 2, or maybe 3 times and they offer you a good deal for you to keep your card, that just seems fair to me. If you're not comfortable doing it, then that's definitely fine, but I'm not going to tell people to not do it because that doesn't seem fair to them. Maybe I'm crazy or maybe I'm wrong, but hopefully I'm helping you guys out. If you don't get a retention offer, then it might make sense to downgrade your card even temporarily. So over on the Chase side, if you have a Chase Sapphire Reserve annual fee coming up and you're not traveling in the next few months, I'd probably downgrade it to a Freedom card and then upgrade it again when you start traveling again. Even if you know you're going to travel in the future, we don't really know how long this is going to last, so you might as well just play it safe and then upgrade it again in the future. I feel like I've talked about this before, but certificate night ones I'd probably keep for now because they still work and you end up having a year from now anyways. If you haven't liked the video yet, give it a thumbs up. It doesn't cost you anything. And the final topics we're going to talk about relate to travel, the first one of which is going to be the Olympics. So the 2020 Tokyo Olympics are going to be moved to 2021. I know a lot of people who ended up planning these trips for this period, and I'd strongly recommend looking into canceling them and getting your points back and just rebooking for next year when the timing is right. I'd pull your points back or your cash back and then reevaluate afterwards. The other thing to consider is that once people do start traveling again, maybe that's 3 months or 6 months or 9 months away, there's probably going to be some very good deals. Maybe I'm crazy or maybe I'm wrong, but if I was an airline and I wanted people to travel again and I also wanted to get liabilities off my books, I'd have some very good point deals for business class just to get people to book it. Next is going to be Hawaii, which is going to require people to self-quarantine for 14 days once they land. If you're someone who lives in Hawaii, then you can self-quarantine in your own home, and then if you don't, then you're kind of on your own. I know for a lot of people who had summer plans, so to places like Bora Bora, they were treating Hawaii as their backup plan, so even if they can't travel internationally, at least they can go to Hawaii. And given this, I probably recommend canceling those plans as well. We don't really know what next month or 2 months away looks like, but you just want to play it safe, and given these new rules, I probably wouldn't go to Hawaii unless you need to. The other rationale with Hawaii was that, well, technically, if no one else is going there, then you can do social distancing and it's going to be safe because everyone's going to not be there. But given this, it seems like they're playing it pretty safe. If you want to travel, then that's fine. I wouldn't recommend it. I probably wouldn't do it myself, but just be aware of that 14-day quarantine. So I'm already 28 minutes into filming, so I'll probably leave the additional topics for another roundup video if you guys do like seeing these. My question for you guys is unrelated to any of these topics. How are you guys? How are you guys dealing with this? Are you guys working from home? Are you guys safe? Let me in the community know in the comments down below. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. But otherwise, stay safe and hopefully I'll see you guys next time.